television's greatest bits. The brand new show reliving the greatest TV programs, theme songs, and commercials of all time. Tonight featuring the year 1964. The Beatles invade America. My Fair Lady wins the Oscar. Lyndon Johnson wins the presidency. And 7 lonely castaways are first stranded on Gilligan's Island.
Hi, I'm Gary Owens. Get ready to journey back in time for a nostalgic look at TV from Perry Mason to the Flintstones, from Speedy Alka-Seltzer to Smokey the Bear. Plus, you'll meet the star of Gilligan's Island, Bob Denver. Now, how did Americans begin their typical TV day in 1964? Why, just like today.
On today, the name of our program, this day being Friday, March the 6th, 1964. These friends in our window and various signs from all over the country.
Now wait. Don't touch your dial. There's nothing wrong with your TV set. Many television shows were really in black and white in 1964.
And the smiles from people greeting you along the network way. They're looking inside the Florida showcase to where you'll find Hugh Downs, Frank Blair, the group of us waiting on guests this next half hour.
All right, World's Fair is the subject, but as usual, we always start first with the news. Frank Blair now has it.
Thanks, Hugh. Good morning, everyone.
It's hard to imagine waking up every single morning and starting your day with a black and white TV program like the Today Show. But that's just how tough life was back in 1964.
That year, big fins on cars were out. Beetle haircuts on boys were in. The nation began jumping up and down with excitement and dancing to a new beat, the beat of rock and roll. Rock and roll turned network TV programming into a giant shindig, a real hootenanny, and one heck of a hullabaloo.
Feel that beat coming strong. Feel like you wanna come along. Jump for joy, we're telling you it's hullabaloo.
Tonight from Hollywood on Hullabaloo, Barry McGuire, Gary Lewis's Playboy.
Hullabaloo popularized miniskirts, go-go boots, and the almost sinful go-go dancer fruging in a cage.
Paul Revere and the Raiders. Johnny Summers.
Just like me. It's getting through to you. It's feel that beat.
Well, no, I'm not the host of Hullabaloo. They need hosts who know the proper way to chaperone a teenage dance show or college fraternity party. Hey, I know who could host this week's Hullabaloo.
The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, starring the entire Nelson family, Ozzie, Harriet, David, and Ricky. Here is Ozzie, who plays the part of Ozzie Nelson. And, of course, his lovely wife, Harriet, as Harriet Nelson. The older of the Nelson boys, David, appears as David Nelson. And his younger brother, Ricky, played by Ricky Nelson.
What the heck is that?
Well, you know that old moose head we've got up in the attic? We now have a friend for him.
Well, get him out of here. That's not exactly what I planned for dinner.
There's a kind of a dirty trick you played on your mother and me tonight.
Oh, what's that?
Well, sending Wally and the guys over to drop your friend off at our house.
What friend?
With the blue moose.
Now, who could Ricky's famous moose friend possibly be?
Isn't barrel jumping a fun sport? No. Unless one's got the go to jump over all of them. So to avoid getting clobbered again, which, by the by, really smarts, I get heaps of go with Cheerios. Go with the goodness of Cheerios. But watch where you're going.
But Bullwinkle, the TV show shindig, did watch where it was going, right to the top.
And now, here is your shindig host,
Jimmy O'Neill. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Howdy, hi, Shindiggers. Welcome into another scintillating Saturday Night Shindig. Well, we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. All the stars on tonight's show have worked together many times before, and there's an unusually warm and friendly atmosphere in the air. And speaking of the stars, we've got some big ones tonight. Jimmy Rogers, Little Anthony and the Imperials, Mary Wells, Stick and Dee Dee, Georgie fame, Bobby Sherman, and Donna Lawrence. We got an unusually chipper studio audience, too. Hey, you know what? The girl who kicks off our show tonight is the girl that the Beatles told me is their very favorite female singer.
I'm Chiquita Banana, and I've come to say bananas have to ripen in a certain way, and when they're flecked with brown and have a golden hue, bananas taste the best and are the best for you. To have bananas that are fully ripe, you must be absolutely sure to take them home and let them ripen at any temperature.
Oh, sure, sure, sure.
You won't find a music video more bizarre than that. Chiquita Banana had been shaking her appeal in America for 20 years before anyone even heard of Madonna. Before we break for a commercial, it's time for the first of 5 tough TV trivia questions from 1964. All right, what was Ozzy's occupation on The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet? His occupation. Now, don't go away, because I'll be right back with the answer to that question and with wonderful scenes from The Andy Griffith Show, The Beverly Hillbillies, and those ever-popular family sitcoms.
Stay tuned for more of television's greatest bits and my guest star, Bob Denver of Gilligan's Island.
Here comes a Clyde. Clyde. Clydes dig kicks because they are not square. Scoop up doo-wee-wee-doo-woo-woo-woo. If you're not a Clyde, you'll dig their unsquare shape, because kicks are like round cornflakes. Sounds wild, but round's why kicks stay crisper in milk. Won't get soggy like regular flat flakes. Kicks, a Big G General Mills cereal.
Hey, a magic lamp. Bet if I rub it and wish real hard, I'll get some tricks. The corn cereal with the tangy taste of natural fruit. Oh, rub-a-dub. I love those tricks fruit colors. Raspberry red, lemon yellow, orange. Lucky day, tricks are mine. You're the greatest, oh, great magic lamp.
Thanks, Rabbit. You found my lamp.
He forgot to take the tricks.
I forgot to take the tricks. Tricks are for kids. A Big G General Mills cereal.
This is Gary Owens welcoming you back to more of television's greatest bits.
The answer to our trivia question, what was Ozzy's occupation on The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, is none. They never showed or mentioned Ozzy's occupation in the TV series. He used to just putter around the house. I guess maybe he was a professional house putter. We're busy reliving the greatest TV programs and commercials of 1964. The year the only dynasty you could watch on television was the Boston Celtics.
Also making sports headlines around the world that year were America's winners at the Summer Olympic Games, broadcast to our shores from Tokyo, Japan.
From Tokyo, Japan to the Beverly Hillbillies' hometown of Bug Tussle, Tennessee, television brought us some diverse and even alien cultures in 1964. Rural American cultures from towns named Hooterville, and most famous of all, Mayberry, North Carolina.
The Andy Griffith Show, starring Andy Griffith, with Ronnie Howard. Also starring Don Knotts.
I got a bite, Paul.
Good.
See that little kid, Opie? He's Ron Howard, now one of Hollywood's top directors. 22 years later, Ron appeared in the reunion show Return to Mayberry, which became the top-rated TV movie of 1986.
He's a good one, ain't he, Paul?
Good. I believe never in the history has anybody your size and weight landed a fish this big.
You mean Paul?
You know, if I didn't know better, I would swear that you're akin to Isaac Walton.
Who's he?
Oh, when it comes to fishing, he's the man that wrote the book.
But Opie Taylor wasn't the only popular kid on TV. In commercials, there were the Campbell kids.
Soup every day makes soup for you. Soup tastes good and it's good for you. Once a day, every day have Campbell's. Good.
Also good, according to the ratings, was Gomer Pyle, USMC. Starring Jim Neighbors. And Frank Sutton.
You are a knucklehead, you are a goof-off, you are a gold brick. Have you ever heard that?
No, sir. Wally, my boss back home, used to call me a jabbernail and a moonkite.
Meanwhile, back in Bug Tussle.
Come and listen to a story about a man named Jed. A poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed. And then one day he was shooting at some food, and up to the ground come a bubbling crude. Oil, that is, black gold, Texas tea. Well, the first thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. The kinfolk said, Jed, move away from there. Said, California is the place you ought to be. So they loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly Hills, that is, swimming pools, movie stars. The Beverly Hillbillies.
Meanwhile, back in Hooterville.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Petticoat Junction.
There's one thing that hasn't changed since 1964, and that's America's passion for cars. No one believed any new car could top 1963's introduction of the Corvette Stingray. But in 1964, along came the hottest car in years.
Mustang, the bright new shape of total performance. The car everyone went wild for overnight.
Here's a bonus trivia quiz. The man who fathered the Mustang, one of the most successful cars in history, was fired by Ford. Luckily, he soon found work. What new job did he do? A, saved the Chrysler Corporation. B, saved the Statue of Liberty. C, wrote 1986's best-selling autobiography. D, all of the above. Meep. The answer is D. Lee Iacocca fathered the Mustang.
They're out of this world.
Like the Mustang, also out of this world was the Thunderbird.
You move in an atmosphere all your own, in a V8 world. Far above the crowd. The air you breathe is changed several times a minute without a window being open. A silent flow ventilating system does it. You cruise in individually contoured comfort. You can even select a passenger seat that reclines. In the rear, a beautiful coved lounge. You can also put this Thunderbird on automatic pilot. Other cars you drive. This one, you Thunderbird.
Not until 1969 did America land a man on the moon. But in 1964, the best that American technology could do was land a man on a moving Chevrolet.
Time now for the second of 5 TV trivia questions. Actress Bea Benaderet, who played Gracie's neighbor Blanche on Burns and Allen, and who provided Betty Rubble's voice on The Flintstones, starred on 2 1964 rural comedies. On Petticoat Junction, she played Kate Bradley. But whom did she play on the Beverly Hillbillies? I'll be right back with the answer to that question and with a look at family situation comedy shows. Plus, we'll meet one of the biggest TV stars of 1964. From Gilligan's Island and Dobie Gillis, Bob Denver. Don't go away.
Television's greatest bits from 1964 will return after these critical messages.
That's my Eddie. Do you have one like him? We're not rich, but Eddie is. Nature gave him everything. My freckles and his father's grin. He's an imp, but an angel underneath. Pesky as a pup and just as healthy. Nature didn't skimp on Eddie, and neither do I. I give him good meals, and to be sure he gets all the vitamins he needs to take, I give him a one-a-day brand multiple vitamin every day. I know one-a-days cost about a penny more than the cut-rate kinds, but Eddie's not a cut-rate boy. Why buy his clothes on sale, but when it comes to health, I want nothing but the best for Eddie or anybody in my family. We took one-a-days 15 years before the cut rates came along. It takes time to trust things, and I trust one-a-day vitamins.
Show me a woman that don't squeeze a grapefruit before she buys it, or plunk a watermelon, and I'll show you a woman that don't know nothing about shopping. Like I was saying to Mr. B last night, it's the same as buying cars. Now you take this new 64 Ford. Just like squeezing and plunking, you gotta try it before you know how good it is. So how's about trying a new Ford at your Ford dealers this week? Just take it from me. You won't go wrong.
And now, more television's greatest bits from 1964.
The answer to our second TV trivia question, whom did Bea Benaderet play on the Beverly Hillbillies, is Jethro's mother, Cousin Pearl Bodine. Continue with us now on our journey back through time as we relive more of TV's greatest shows, theme songs, and commercials. Our year in focus tonight is 1964.
When the St. Louis Cardinals beat Mickey Mantle and the New York Yankees for the World Series crown.
And when 7 unique people set sail on what was to be a 3-hour tour, instead it turned into an adventure that would be run and rerun on television more than any other series in TV history. Sing along if you know the words and follow the bouncing boat.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic port aboard this tiny ship. The mate was a mighty sailing man, the skipper brave and sure. 5 passengers set sail that day for a 3-hour tour, a 3-hour tour. The weather started getting rough, the tiny ship was tossed. If not for the courage of the fearless crew, the minnow would be lost, the minnow would be lost. The ship's aground on the shore of this uncharted desert isle, with Gilligan, the skipper too, the millionaire and his wife, a movie star, and the rest are here on Gilligan's Island.
Now let's meet the star of Gilligan's Island, Bob Denver. All right, Bob.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you.
Bob, Gilligan's Island really is the most rerun show in history. Now, even though the critics of 1964 ravaged the program.
Ravaged? Well, they did worse than that, I'll be honest with you.
How do you explain its universal popularity?
Oh, I think the physical comedy alone, all the physical jokes, running into palm trees and coconuts hitting you on the head.
Well, you've always had that in every role you've played.
The poor nerd.
You were a nerd forerunner, really, weren't you?
I guess so.
Yeah. Well, we've seen the show, Gilligan's Island, over and over and over again for almost 25 years now. Is there anything we don't know about the show?
Well,
any surprises left?
I guess the kind of like little trivia would be the characters' names. You know, like the skipper had a name, and so did the professor, and And,
you mean like full name?
Yeah, full name instead of Skipper.
Yeah.
I mean, his name wasn't Skipper. He wasn't born and said Skipper.
Yeah, yeah, that's where Skipper Jr. is.
Yes, right. And the Skipper was Jonas Grumby, which I thought was a great name.
It does. It sounds onomatopoetic, as though Charles Dickens...
Onomatopoetic?
Well,
God, this is
after all,
a kid, you know.
very high-class show, though, you have to remember. What about Gilligan? What about your name?
No, it was just Gilligan on the show, and I asked the writer many years later if did he have another name, and he said if it was necessary, it would have been Willie Gilligan.
It seems that strange names have always followed you around. It's always been a trademark of a Bob Denver TV character.
Yeah.
What are some of the other names from your other series?
Dobie Gillis, it was Maynard G. Krebs.
One of my favorite names.
Remember what the G stood for?
No.
Walter. He was named after his aunt.
Well, of course. Why didn't we think of that?
Yes.
I do recall, Bob, one member of the Dobie Gillis cast, the boy who played Milton Armitage, Dobie's rival, showed a lot of acting promise, but I don't recall his name.
Warren, oh, wait a minute, I got it. Warren Beatty.
No, that doesn't sound familiar. I don't know, I guess I was wrong about it. You know, but I'm not wrong about the family comedy shows we're about to see. These sitcoms are from an era when there was usually only one TV set in a household and families watched the shows together. Of course, back then on television, it always seemed that father knew best. A far cry from many of today's programs where the kids seem to have all the brains. In 1964, the typical American family was represented on TV by...
My Three Sons, starring Fred McMurray. And as Uncle Charlie, William Demarest. And Don Grady as Robbie.
First, here's the Douglas family, where a widower took care of the kids.
Smile, you guys.
Just think, I don't have to call you Mr. Douglas anymore, Dad.
And this is the first time in my life I've ever used the word daughter.
Hey, that's right. Well, I look at it like this. I may be losing a brother, but I'm gaining a room.
Next, here's a look at the Baxter family, where a maid took care of the kid. That's Whitney Blake, who went on to fame as the co-creator of One Day at a Time and the co-creator of a daughter named Meredith Baxter Burney, star of Family Ties.
Have you seen my tape recorder?
Is it on your desk?
Well, honey, if it were on the desk, would I be asking you where it is?
Well, maybe you took it to your office, George.
Look away, look away, Dixieland. Well, now I think you better take your dad's tape recorder back, honey. Well, you got it.
Well, sing it again, Hazel.
Oh, come on, sport. Oh.
Now here's the Stevens family, where a witch took care of the kids. And here's the Martin family, where a dog took care of the kid.
Starring June Lockhart, Hugh Riley, John Provost as Timmy, and, of course, Lassie.
Lassie?
Finally, here's the Stone family, where, strange as it may seem, a normal mother and father took care of the kids. That is, if you call a mother normal who starts her day in pearls with a formal hairdo and professionally applied makeup.
I've been
after you for a week to get this room straightened out. So if you miss the tennis matches, it's your own fault. Jeff. Jeff, if there's one thing I can't stand, it's the silent treatment. Now get out from under that bed immediately. Smitty, what are you doing cleaning up Jeff's room?
Well, I don't mind.
Where is he?
Well, it's time now for a Donna Reed TV trivia question, the third of 5 tough quizzes tonight. Bob, how's your Donna Reed show IQ?
About the same as Gilligan's, I think. No. Yes. Now, I remember that Paul Peterson who played her son, I think he was a Mouseketeer.
Not bad. Okay. Can you tell me what #1 rock and roll song was sung by Shelley Fabares, who played Donna's daughter Mary on the series?
Yeah, I think I know the answer. I think so.
Well, we'll be right back for Bob's answer to our trivia question and for a visit with the Cartwright family on the Ponderosa. So don't go away.
Get him up, big boy. All right.
Stay tuned for more of television's greatest bits from 1964 with my special guest star, Bob Denver. Oh, by the way, I'm Gary Owens. It says so right here in the script.
A new day dawns in the city. A day when a lot of little irritations may mount up, make you feel tense. Let Miles Nervine in new carry-along capsules help you feel calm. It's formulated to help ease that feeling of nervous tension. Take as directed. Avoid excessive use. Also in effervescent tablets and liquid form, Miles Nervine.
Meet photographer Bill. He races for coffee, snaps pictures, more coffee, more pictures, coffee again. He needs a change of pace.
Coffee? Hey, wait. I'd sooner Lipton.
You've said the magic word. Brisk Lipton tea. It's the change of pace drink. Satisfies like coffee, but refreshes you better. It's one tea that's different. Better blend with its choice orange pico tea. Better tea bag with not just 2, but 4 brewing sides. The Lipton Flow Through tea bag.
Welcome back to television's greatest bits. Tonight, the best of TV from 1964.
Hi, this is Gary Owens with my very special guest star, Bob Denver from Gilligan's Island, who has the answer, I hope, to our third TV trivia question tonight. Okay, Bob, what #1 song was recorded by Shelley Fabares while she was starring as Mary on the Donna Reed show?
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm right on this one. It was Johnny Angel.
Johnny Angel is
Hey,
right.
I win. What do I win? Nothing.
Well, no, just a minute. Stand by. You'll wait and find out,
Okay.
like everyone else.
All right.
So return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear, just in time to catch television's most famous commercial spokesman in action.
Alka-Seltzer does the trick. Nothing's faster, liquid quick. With Alka-Seltzer, you'll always say, relief is just a swallow away.
Other cartoon characters also popped up on TV commercials. There was Smokey the Bear.
Of all the people on Earth, only you can prevent forest fires.
Only you. And also one of the favorites of the baby boomers, Choo Choo Charlie.
Once upon a time there was an engineer.
Choo-choo Charlie was his name, we hear.
He had an engine and he sure had fun. He used good and plenty candy to make his train run.
Charlie says, love my good and plenty. Charlie says, really rings the bell. Charlie says, love my good and plenty. Don't know any other candy that I love so well.
You know, I think I've seen that commercial on TV again recently.
Yeah, it's great. It figures, it seems like everything from out of the past is coming back. Beverly Hillbillies, Andy Griffith, Gilligan's Island, and of course the top-rated TV movie in 1985, Perry Mason.
You're guilty.
snagging the olives out of martinis.
Look at these flies, Paul. A retired government man up near Palo Alto is teaching me how to hand tie them.
While Perry Mason was handling the law in his courtroom, Gene Barry was handling it in the back seat of his Rolls Royce. And while Gene Barry fought crime in the back of a Rolls Royce, James Arness fought crime on the back of a horse.
Gunsmoke, starring James Arness as Matt Dillon.
I told you something like this could happen.
They got Mel Cooper.
I don't care who they got.
Maybe you don't, but I do.
My concern is for the safety of the people in this town.
Cooper was wanted for murder.
There's not going to be any gunfighting in my town as long as I can help it.
And that sums up 22 years of Gunsmoke in 2 short sentences. Meanwhile, NBC found success with a different Western. In fact, it was more than a success, it was a bonanza.
Mail, Paul.
Thank you. There's one here for you, Your Majesty.
Ah, from George Harris, one of my most loyal and faithful subjects.
Hey, Paul. Did he really beat you 2 games?
Yes, he beat me 2 games. What about it?
Nothing, Paul.
An hour after Bonanza on Sunday nights in 1964, there was a cleverly written series starring 3 Academy Award-winning actors: Gig Young, Charles Boyer, and David Niven. They were the Rogues.
The inquiry continues. Here are the cricket scores.
A real barracuda, Mr. Koenig.
Very rich barracuda.
Yes.
I think I've got you, Mum.
And Meg, I have the germ of a very nasty notion.
Lovely. What?
If Timmy and I show up in California looking suspiciously like agents for Stavro Lefkis, we could spoil Koenig's holiday. Especially when he finds out we're after a couple of $1 million in sunken treasure.
That was such a great show.
Yeah, and we have many more great shows coming right up here, including some of TV's greatest cartoons and Ed Sullivan. Do you do Ed Sullivan?
Not well. No, not at
well,
all.
All right, then we won't do Ed Sullivan. We'll do Ed Sullivan, but not your imitation of Ed Sullivan. No. But first, here's the 4th out of 5 TV trivia toughies of the night. Bob, on Bonanza, what was Hoss's real name?
Come on, Gary, will you give me a break?
Oh, okay, all right. We'll be back with the answer after this commercial break. It was not Spangler Arlington Brew. It was Robert Taylor's real name.
And now, a word, or maybe even a whole paragraph, from our sponsor.
Alka-Seltzer on the rocks tastes like a different drink. But even that good, it relieves upset stomach, headache, and indigestion. Better than anything you can buy without a prescription. Anything. Next time, try Alka-Seltzer on the rocks. It's good enough to drink.
When you're only 4, you feel things more. Puppies hug softer. Skates sing louder. Hurts hurt harder, too. That's why a child needs Bactine, the gentle first aid antiseptic.
Bactine won't hurt the hurt. It's powerful, yet mild enough for a child. Some antiseptics sting and stain. But not Bactine. It soothes and cools instead. And Bactine's exclusive detergent formula cleans the cut like soap and water. Bactine attacks germs both inside the cut and out. It attacks them here and here, then forms a protective germ barrier to help prevent infection. When your children get cuts, scratches, mosquito bites, or minor burns, use Bactine. Bactine won't hurt the hurt. Great for grown-ups, too.
This is Gary Owens. Television's Greatest Bits continues with my special guest star, Bob Denver.
We're traveling back through time tonight to recreate the year 1964 on television with a look at the TV shows, theme songs, and classic commercials that flooded the airwaves. But first, Bob, have you got the answer to our TV trivia question? What was Hoss's real name on Bonanza?
Yeah, well, the only name I remember from that show was Hop Sing, and I don't think that was Hoss's real name, was it,
It was
Gary?
not
No,
quite, really.
Hop Sing.
Hoss's real name was Eric. Good reason, I
Eric?
guess. Eric, yes. I have a little Eric. I don't know. Must have been the plane flight in. I'm not sure. No, he wanted to change his name something to, well, like Hoss. That was a lot nicer, I guess, yeah. But there was more going on in 1964 than Bonanza. There was also a presidential election.
It was mid-60s politics. Lyndon Johnson versus Barry Goldwater. That election became a landslide victory for LBJ and the beginning of his great society. Yet both Johnson and Goldwater had to duck the satiric potshots of a weekly TV series that always stood ready to open the curtain on their every misstep. Yes, that was the week that was.
That was the week that was. Goldwater knocks relief. Poor men have no beef. In Barry's books, they're schnooks. That's his firm belief.
Richard Nixon announced that he would accept a draft to run for the presidency only if a deadlock developed. He could make no further comment as he was busily engaged in his current work, developing a deadlock.
De Gaulle plays footsie with the red Chinese. Bobby tries to calm the Indonese. Time magazine simplifies sex, but Eddie Fisher feels it's much more complex. Ruby's defense says his brain was maimed, and Jimmy Hoffa's huffing, I've been framed. That was the week that
was. Politics and reality were not the only programming provided by television in those good old days. By 1964, no less than 4 cartoon shows had also become primetime series, something absolutely unheard of. Bob, didn't one of your fellow Gilligan's Island castaways have a major role in that?
He sure did. Jim Backus, who played the island millionaire. He was also the voice of Mr. Magoo.
Yes. Oh, well,
there was another primetime cartoon show on in '64.
So great. There were so many good ones, of course. Johnny Quest, Magoo, we just mentioned, of course, and the Jetsons. But the one that really started it all, the one that broke the primetime barrier in 1960 was the Flintstones.
Meet the Flintstones, they're the modern Stone Age family. From the town of Bedrock, they're a page right out of history. Let's ride with the family down the street, through the courtesy of Fred and Pete. When you're with the Flintstones, have a yabba-dabba-doo time, a dabba-doo time, we'll have a gay old time. Mr. Clean gets rid of dirt and grime and grease in just a minute.
Mr. Clean will clean your whole house and everything that's in it.
Floors, doors, walls, halls, white sidewall, tires, and old golf balls.
Sinks, stoves, bathtubs he'll do. He'll even help clean laundry.
Yes, apparently Mr. Clean cleaned better than anything on Earth. But in 1964, thanks to a satellite named Ranger, man was no longer limited to Earth.
The race to the moon was on, and America had a lot of catching up to do if we were to reach President Kennedy's goal of a manned landing before the end of the 60s. If we were to meet that challenge, Ranger had to succeed in its attempt to crash into the moon's surface. It did, and for the country and its cartoons, the sky was now the limit in 1964.
Meet George Jetson.
Johnny Quest, whose voice was courtesy of actor Tim Matheson, was the first primetime adventure cartoon and the forerunner of today's popular shows like G.I. Joe and He-Man. And TV also welcomed Magilla Gorilla in '64.
We've got a gorilla for sale, Magilla Gorilla for sale. Won't you buy him, take him home and try him? Gorilla for sale. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay, elephant all the way.
Remember Quick Draw McGraw and his sidekick, Baba Louie?
Fastest gun in the West. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay, riding around your way. Here comes Quick Draw McGraw, the highfalutin', fastest shooting cowboy you ever saw. That's Quick Draw McGraw.
And finally, Huckleberry Hound.
Huckleberry Hound for all you guys and gals. The biggest clown in town is Huckleberry Hound with all his cartoon pals. It's Huckleberry fun, it's for everyone. So come on, gather round. Get yourself all set, tune up your TV set for Huckleberry Hound. That whole so merry, Huckleberry, Huckleberry Hound.
It's amazing, isn't it? You know, each of those great cartoon shows we've looked at came from Hanna-Barbera, true innovators of animated TV series. Okay, Bob, confess now, which character was your favorite talking animal of 1964?
Well, the ones we saw were all great, Gary, but my favorite was a little talking mouse that always popped up on the Ed Sullivan Show. You know, Topo Gigio.
Yeah, well, I think Ed Sullivan called him Topo Gigio.
Gigio? You think that's French, huh?
Well, maybe if we're lucky, we'll see him on the Ed Sullivan Show when we take a look back later in our program. But before we break away, here's the fifth and final TV trivia question for the night. All right, ready, Bob? On the Flintstones, what was the name of the head of Fred and Barney's lodge?
Come on, Gary, that's a breeze. Everyone knows that.
Well, we'll return with the answer and the final part of our journey back through time on television's greatest bits. Stay tuned.
There's more to come on television's greatest bits. We'll be right back.
Yeah, Pop?
Get on the beam.
Get on the beam, yeah?
Put a tiger on your team.
Tiger on your team, yeah?
Eat Kellogg's Sugar Frosted Flakes.
Frosted Flakes.
Great!
Gee, Pop.
Oh, sorry, Junior.
All right, everybody sing!
Tony the Tiger says Frosted Flakes are great! Kellogg's Sugar Frosted Flakes, great! Get on the beam, put a tiger on your team.
Sing!
Eat Kellogg's Sugar Frosted Flakes, great! It's a great way to sweeten up the day, a beautiful bowl to get lost in. Great golden flakes of corn with a toasted-in sugar frosting. Get on the beam, put a tiger on your team.
Let's hear it!
Eat Kellogg's Sugar Frosted Flakes.
They just sit there eating Sugar Frosted Flakes.
We want 'em to, son.
Well, that's a funny way to learn a song.
Welcome back to television's greatest bits. Tonight featuring the year 1964.
Okay, Bob, who was the head of Fred and Barney's lodge on the Flintstones?
The Grand Poobah.
You've done it again.
I know.
The Grand Poobah it is. Now, how about the commercial catchphrases and slogans that were big in 1964? Remember any?
I think so. Let's see, there was, sugared Frosted Flakes taste great.
Right.
And I guess Winston tastes good like a cigarette should.
Every product had one, especially all the soft drinks. And as always, Coke and Pepsi were slugging it out on TV, aided in '64 by the introduction of their diet sodas nationally. So let's see which you remember best.
Food goes better with fun, goes better with you, go better with Coke. The real life one puts extra fun in you and everything you do. So things go better with Coca-Cola, things go better with Coke.
If Coca-Cola wasn't the real thing for you in '64, you could still come alive with Pepsi.
Come alive. Come alive. You're in the Pepsi generation.
And now, presenting the sponsor with the commercial catchphrase of 1964, as Madison Avenue asked America the burning question.
Does she or doesn't she? With Miss Clairol, hair color so natural, only her hairdresser knows for sure.
How about an ad that uses the Statue of Liberty to intimidate people into feeling guilty?
As Susan Spotless says, keep America beautiful. Make it a family project.
Please, please, don't be a litter bug, 'cause every litter bit hurts.
Now, if the Statue of Liberty doesn't sell your message, how about tying your product to the propeller blades of a motorboat?
Ladies and gentlemen, John Cameron Swayze for Timex. In a minute, the Espadon is going to take a Timex Marlin watch for a ride in that surf out there. The watch has been attached to a Chrysler outboard motor just above the propeller. Our driver's ready, so let's go. Looks like he's riding a Bronco. Somewhere in that churning water is our watch. Laboratory tests show the Marlin can withstand an impact of 2,000 Gs and still run accurately. Okay, let's see how our Timex did. There, it's still going.
If torturing and abusing a watch doesn't sell the message, how about some brutal hard sell from Pat Harrington before he became good old Schneider on One Day at a Time?
15 million men bought Twistiflex watch bands since they were introduced 5 years ago. And 15 million men are enjoying their comfort and good looks. They're so comfortable you can turn them, twist them, even tie them in a knot. But how about the millions of men who don't own a Twistiflex yet? Are you one of them? Well, what's the matter with you? You've been out of the country for the last 5 years? You don't own a wristwatch? You can't find a jewelry store. So what's your excuse? Go buy one now.
Okay, stop picking on me. I'll buy it. I'll buy it right now. I will. Gee.
Yeah. It's almost like having Darth Vader as your commercial spokesman. CBS, on the other hand, had the great stone face as its spokesman, the one and only Ed Sullivan. And Sunday night was always a popular night for TV viewing. A typical family in 1964 might start its evening with Lassie and Mr. Ed and continue with Mr. Ed Sullivan and Bonanza, The Rogues, or Candid Camera and What's My Line. But no show could match the Ed Sullivan Show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight from New York, the Ed Sullivan Show.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Well, you know, so very nice to be here. Thank you, Ralph Rennick, for that very nice intro. And now this has happened again. Last Sunday, on our show in New York, the Beatles played to the greatest TV audience that's ever been assembled in the history of American TV. Now, tonight, here in Miami Beach, teamed up with Hollywood's delightful Missy Gaynor, Meyer and Cohn, comedy stars Allen and Rossi, again, the Beatles face a record-busting audience. Ladies and gentlemen, here are four of the nicest youngsters we've ever had on our stage. The Beatles, bring them on!
I was humble. Oh, we're all broke. Don't tell anyone, please.
Hey, Bob, no Topo Gigio.
Well, sorry. I'm crushed. I'm really crushed.
Well, maybe next time, Bob, because our hour is just about up. It's been a great show. I mean, where else could we spend all of our time living in the past without being carted away somewhere?
That's true.
Yeah. Bob Denver, thank you for making this journey back through time with me.
Well, Gary, I thank you, and let's do another year of TV sometime, huh?
Good idea. And as we return control of your TV set back to you and arrive once again in the present day, we're going to leave you as we would have in 1964 with these immortal words.
Good night, Jeff. Good night, David.
Good night, Gary.
Good night, Bob. And good night for television's greatest bits.
She's a doll, and she's a doll, until that after shampoo snarl. What to do? Get hair so new by Clairol, the one and only spray-on cream rinse. Spray it on, snarl's all gone. takes the crying out of combing. Spray it on. Don't rinse it off. Just comb and set. No mixing, no fixing, no muss, no fuss. As with other cream rinses. Just spray it on, and Hair So New makes hair so beautiful. Springy, bouncy, silky, manageable. Great for you and your little girl, too. Hair So New. Hair So New. The spray-on cream rinse by Clairol.
Hi, I'm Anita Bryant. Whether you exercise by dancing or just walking around the block, you'll find nothing refreshes like ice-cold Coca-Cola. Coke gives you such a lively lift. You enjoy everything more. That's why we say things go better with Coke.